Hey guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your post notifications for more great content just like what you're about to see.
We are going to bring on our guest, Dave Donaldson, come and join us. We're so excited that you are here.
Oh, my joy.
Welcome.
Good to see you.
Welcome.
Thanks, Mark.
Now, you are the co-founder of Convoy of Hope, an organization very close to my heart because we partnered together in Puerto Rico in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. Many people watching gave to that effort and helped people rebuild.
Oh, very grateful. And it's always a delight and honor to have you with our teams out there.
Well, you guys do great work and lots of trust in how you walk it out. I saw it firsthand myself, so thank you.
Thank you for that.
You also just launched CityServe International, helping faith communities make a difference in their local areas, which is another inspiration of yours.
Yeah, as we've worked with churches, around the world, I really felt like the Lord was leading me to become more intentional about helping that local church become God's hand to dealing with the brokenness in their communities. As we know, many pastors and leaders, they feel overwhelmed by the needs. I remember speaking at a church and the pastor went up to the podium. I thought he was going to introduce me, but instead he resigned from the church.
Oh, wow.
And to make matters worse, my sermon topic or title was Never Quit, Never Give Up.
Apropos.
And so afterwards, we're having lunch. I said, what happened? You could have given me a little forewarning. And he said, I'm just overcome by the problems in my church and community. But God sees those problems as opportunities for the church to be the church. And so we started CityServe to equip and mobilize the local church to meet the needs of its community, and thousands upon thousands are being helped, and churches are growing spiritually and numerically.
Wow.
Well, Dave, you're doing incredible work in terms of church ministry and ministering to that community. But let's talk a little bit about your story and talk about what has been part of your faith journey to bring you to this place that has inspired you to be an answer and to be part of the solution. Let's talk.
Well, Mark, it was in 1969. Our parents were pastoring in Northern California, and one hot summer evening, as they drove off, little did we know that our lives would be turned upside down. A drunk driver slid across the divide, hit their car head on. My dad was killed instantly. Our mother survived miraculously. She was literally thrown from the car. She was dying, and there just happened to be a fire truck in the area, saved her life. And so there we were, three young kids, three young boys, and then a younger sister. And I remember visiting her hospital room and peering through the glass into her room. And she was so beaten up and broken, we didn't even recognize her. Wow. In fact, when she mentioned my older brother's name, he collapsed to the ground right beside me. So there we were, wondering what's going to happen next. Where are we going to get food, clothing, and who's going to take in 4 kids? And compassionate, loving, generous people, they responded to our cries, provided us hot meals almost every night for 6 months. In fact, the food was so good that when my mother began to recover, we pleaded with them to continue. My mother had many gifts, but as she would love to joke, cooking was never one of them. And she would joke that we knew it was time for dinner when the smoke alarm would go off. But the big question, was who's going to take in 4 kids? And let me tell you, at first, there was not a lot of people with their hands raised. I was pretty ornery, as a kid. But this family, the Davises, they didn't have a big bank account. They didn't have a big home. In fact, it was a single-wide trailer, but they had big hearts. And they said, we're going to take in these 4 kids. And so we had 11 people living in a single-wide trailer. Wow. And I remember that day walking up to that trailer, and I was scared. Would this be just another stop along the way? Will they keep us? Will they really want us long term? And as we approached the front door, it swung open, and there Mr. Davis stood. and he had this warm, inviting smile on his face. And as we shuffled inside, they gave us hugs, and this is what he said. He said, "You are with family, and this is your home."
Wow.
That four-letter word, Cheryl, that changed our lives, because it meant that the Davises, they're willing to not only share their space, but they're willing to share in our sorrow, our pain, our anger, and to even invite that into their home. And that's compassion. Compassion literally means to suffer with. So they modeled that for us.
I love that. And there's going to be a full circle moment with that story. So I want everyone to remember that you are with family, how he was greeted at the door. We're going to come back to continue this conversation with Dave Donaldson. He'll be joined by Kristy, his wife. We're going to talk about the healing journey they took to give back what he had been given. Just a moment.
Well, we are back with Dave Donaldson along with his wife Kristy, talking about how one family's sacrificial kindness changed Dave's life forever.
So
welcome back.
Yeah, it's so great to have you, Kristy, joining us.
Great to be here.
We're going to talk a little bit now about a different journey you took. Dave, you were at a summit on fostering, and something was happening to you. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, I was asked to put on the first ever summit for foster care and adoption under the Bush administration. And I was up on the stage waiting to introduce the Health and Human Services Secretary, Tommy Thompson. And I'm hearing the stories of these kids that are in the foster care system, and it messed me up. And these young kids talking about how they felt like a discarded piece of trash. One lady said that she had been in 40 different homes until she aged out. And so that night, I went home and I asked Kristy, who's one of the most compassionate, loving people you would ever meet, I asked her, would you be open to us becoming foster parents? And she replied, what?
It's true. Being a foster parent was not on my radar or in my bucket list for life. And when he came home, it was like, wait, my plate's already full. We had 3 biological children already, very busy lives. And I just said, what? But God did a work in my heart, and we prayed about it, and Dave led with those first few meetings, and ultimately I had to come to that place of saying, God, I want what you want more than what I want. And he began to bring such good fruit through that obedience. I had to give that to God, the obedience, and he's brought great fruit.
Now, meeting your foster daughter, Barbara, was a full circle moment for the both of you. What happened?
Well, first of all, when she was dropped off at our house to get to know her, the foster parent, he treated her like he was dropping off a FedEx package. Wow. He simply said, good luck. And so, but when we first met her, we were sitting on a couch and she had been so abused and neglected, she was like this. And God really spoke to our hearts about becoming a forever family for her. And so we said, hey, Barbara, we want you to be a part of our family. Well, they dropped her off, and we looked out the window as she walked up, and she was scared. I mean, she was like a bent over, bruised flower, and she's holding her pillow with one arm. And so as she approached the front door, I swung it open, and I gave her a warm, inviting smile like Bill Davis had given to us 40 years earlier. And as she shuffled inside, we gave her hugs, and I said, Barbara, you are with family, and this is your home. And that's what happens.
Yes.
If we're just willing, even in our busy lives, our crowded lives, we're willing to make room for others, God just takes it and he multiplies it. And, you know, Cheryl, when we had the 20th anniversary for Convoy of Hope, we honored the Davis family. And that was an unforgettable moment because we brought them up on the stage and everybody's just sobbing. And we have a picture of this that somebody sent to us because he whispered this in my ear. He said, I never knew our love for your family would result in helping so many people. And that's what happens. You never know. You know, how God can use you and take whatever you give to Him to change your world.
This issue of fostering is so huge. I mean, here in Canada, there's 45,000 kids in foster care right now, 30,000 kids waiting for adoption. And it's just amazing how just one act of a decision that you make can change a life, who can change lives like you did. Kristy, what was the arc you saw with Barbara as you brought her into your home?
There were challenges, of course, but we felt immersing her into our life, which included church, youth group, and I think the biggest influence were the other siblings who were more parent influenced, which helped guided her as well to look to us. But they were a huge influence and impact, and they're very close today, all of them.
Aw, and she just got married 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Congratulations.
A wonderful young man. We're thrilled. It was just wonderful to see that glorious day. Yes.
What you have done with your lives and the kindness that was given to you, especially Dave, is so inspiring. Just 30 seconds left. With the accessibility of information all around the world right now, you know, people, it's hard to keep your level of compassion up. People just get tired of hearing about suffering. How do you, who's on the front line of this every day, keep that compassion strong?
Yeah, it reminds me of a father and son. They're setting up the dorm room, and they can't understand why the lamp isn't going on. They look down, and that the cord to a power strip is plugged back into the power strip instead of into the wall. And so if our lives and our service is plugged in to the wall, into the Lord each and every day, then His compassion, you know, will shine through, even through, you know, the worst conditions. And the other is that we got to keep educating ourselves, you know, and we wrote this book, you know, the CityServe book. It's got 40 different contributors that are experts in church-based compassion, and they even address that, you know, how to deal with compassion fatigue and how to implement these models in your church and your community.
Love how you want to keep passing that on. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you for being models of compassion to us.